So in this last section, I just want to add a settings page, which really is just going to give the user the ability to reposition this web clipper. So let's add a settings button first. I'm going to duplicate this one here, and we will rename this to just say settings. And I'm going to change the styling. And I'll just take off the yellow and just let that button stay gray. All right, so now we have our settings button, and I want to add a new page, which is going to be our settings page. So I'll drop a blank page in. We'll call this settings. And let's see here. So what I want to have on this settings page is really just 4 buttons. So I want to have I'm going to change this size actually, set this to 400 pixels, just like our main view. And we're going to put 4 buttons on here. And those buttons are going to be for the 4 positions that we want to allow our user to set. So let's do this. I'm going to put a couple of divs on here. So let's do a little bit of flex styling. And let's drop in, actually, you know what I'll do is I'll copy this settings button. It's already got the styling I want. So let's paste that in, and instead of settings, this one's going to say top left. And then I'll duplicate that, and we'll call this one top right. Let's space these out a little. Let's do maybe even spaced, something like that. And then on these buttons, I want to add a class. Let's see here. I think I have one here, clipper button settings, yep. And we don't have a size on these, but I'm going to go ahead and put one in at 100% width. There we go. All right, so we have a top left and a top right. Let's add a little bit more spacing. There we go. And I'm going to set actions on each of these that allow the user to reposition these. So first, let's create a couple of actions on this page. So we're going to have, we're going to call this one position top left. Make sure we spell it right. And the action for this is going to be, if you search Chrome, set styling extension pop-up outer. So we're going to set this, and we have an option to select from a style class. I have a class that actually is top left. And this class is really just some CSS that sets it into the right position that I want. So that's all that is. If we go to our, actually what we can do is we can copy this step for top left and then go to top right and add a new event, position top right. And we'll just paste that in there and change it to my other class. So that's all I'm doing is setting some style classes onto my extension. And actually, what it does is it adds a sort of rounded edge, a drop shadow, makes the floating extension look a little bit more like it's floating. And I actually, want to add 2 more for bottom left and bottom right. So let's make this bottom left, bottom right. and position bottom right will be my flow. I'll paste in my copied action and just change that to bottom right, and then do the same for bottom left. So new flow, position, bottom left, and I'll paste in my action and change it to bottom left. So now when I click each of these, it should set the styling for the settings, I'm sorry, for the clipper, for the Chrome extension. Now, what we don't have is a way for the user to get to this settings view. We have this page and we have this button, but so far nothing is actually set up to trigger this to go there. So what I want to do with this is I want to create a view or a div, that a container that this will populate into. So I'm going to add a div here on my main page, and we're going to call this div settings, and I'll actually move the clipper above it. All right, so we've got a place now for this to populate into, and when we click this button, I'm going to trigger a new flow. So we'll have a new flow that says go to settings when they click the settings button, and there's an action, open page into container. This is the one I want to use, and I'm going to open this settings page. I've got two, hang on. There we go. I had to rename an old one so I knew which one is mine. So I want to open this settings page into the div settings element, and that will make sure that once they click that settings button, they can actually see the settings view. One other thing I want to do is I'm going to want to be able to hide and show this settings div. So I'm going to make this one hidden by default. So display none. I'll have that hidden by default. And then when I go into my go to settings flow, I'm going to add an action here to show it. I'll move this to the top. And let's show our settings view and hide our clipper view. So that's all I'm going to do. Actually, I'll move the hide to the top. So hide the clipper, show the settings, and then open this page into settings. So we can actually test that out. Let's go back to builder.com. Open the clipper. Now we see our settings button. If I click this, it opens the settings view. Now we've got the settings view open. Each of these buttons should properly reposition the extension. So let's try that. Bottom right, top right, bottom left, and top left is broken. So let's take a look at that. I didn't set it to trigger. There we go, position top left. All right, so now we have all of our buttons working, and we can reposition this. The one thing that we want to happen is once we reposition it, we actually want it to snap back to our main clipper view so that we can see it. And actually, what we'll do is we'll give them a back button so they can go back and view it that way. So let's go to our main clipper view, into our settings div, which is hidden by default, but in here I'm going to copy my settings button and paste it in, and I'm going to change this button to say back. And we're going to want a new event, a new flow called back to Clipper. And this is going to hide our settings div and show our Clipper. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so the back button is kind of positioned bottom left. Let's just clean that up a little bit. Okay, so I just took a second to update some of my styles and get this laid out the way that I want. But now if we take a look at our settings, we've got our buttons laid out here. We can move them around to the different positions, and then if we hit back, it goes back to the web clipper. So now we have a way for our user to reposition the Chrome extension. So that's going to do it for this tutorial. Hopefully this gives you a good idea of how to use the built-in extensions or the built-in actions in Builder to build a Chrome extension, and then to extend that by integrating with some third-party services and sending and saving that data to different places, and then allowing your user to customize that Chrome extension. So this was fun. Hope it was informational for you, and thanks for watching.